Chief Guest, Sapna Pradhan Malla.
She's coming.
Radha Busnet from Canada. I would like to call our respected Dr. Tara Nirola. And I would like to call my respected Dr. Samita Das Gupta from Manavi organization. I would like to call Mr. Tenji Serpa. And I would like to call Dr. Bisnubaya Pariyar. And I'd like to call Mr. Deepak Raj Kafle. We need some chair.
Yeah, there is one already.
One more.
One more.
I need one more. Oh, get it. And I'd like to call our activist Seema Dhami. So I'd like to welcome everybody, my respected panelists, and also my respected audience. So from different organizations and different country. So this is Sharda Singhati. I'm a Women Forum coordinator. So now I'm going to start the program because we have just a limited time frame on it. So first of all, I would like to give a little bit of introduction of each and every panelist as well as the special our guest speaker. So
our organization, from the beginning, we have been doing kind of work to empower the people. So I will be talking about how we are creating this program and how we're trying to help the people who are in need in Nepal through several organization collaborative partnership. I mean, thing is that hope and opportunity brought me to this country 40 years ago. I guess always had in the back of my mind I wanted to do something for the people in Nepal. So 25 years ago when I went back to Nepal, I saw two little girls standing by the temple collecting pennies. Then I, instantly thought about, gee, how come they are not in school? I guess I didn't realize that, after being away for so many years, I didn't realize these kids, obviously families cannot afford to send them to school. So I came back energized and wanting to help the, children of Nepal. So we started the Rotary Foundation through one of the Rotary Club in Nepal with $1,000. And that $1,000 became, I guess, a kind of a energy for the lot of Rotarians. They decided, so right now we have 650 students each year. We're providing scholarship for these kids. As I said, the hope and opportunity brought me to this country, and there are a lot of little things we can do. Sometimes we don't think about it. And now as part of my, our program, we have worked with many organizations. Obviously, some of them failed, some of them, succeeded. The next program we're doing a microcredit project, which is we're giving like $100 to $150 per ladies in the villages to start a business. And that program has grown now, and as I said, how do we empower them? I mean, we have a lot of resources in America, sometimes, as I said, we don't think about, how we can help those unfortunate people in the, different parts of the country. So we have been, searching for many of the partners in Nepal. I found that the Rotary is a perfect partner for the project, and each year we are able to send almost $50,000 to $100,000 worth of project. I don't know any one of you here belongs to a Rotary Club. Maybe perhaps you can think about, joining the club to help, because as I said, it's a small amount of money. And the girls we are sending to school, $50. $50 we can send one kid to school in the village. Obviously there are a lot of private schools, but opportunity we're trying to provide. Think about in America, what is $50 for you? If you really want to, empower someone, if you really want to help someone, we can do it. I think that part of the thing is we need to think about, how we can mobilize the resources. We have a panelists here. They all belong to several organizations. How can we work together to help maybe one or two more people each year? And that's, I think, the mindset we have to think about. A lot of people in Nepal expecting us to do something. Can we let them down? Obviously there are a lot of organizations in Nepal who are trying to do the same thing. So let's try to partner with them, see how we can, mobilize our resources. As I said, every year, a couple of the churches in my community, they sponsor a dinner. And we raise, $1,000, $2,000. And that is about, 10 additional students we can give a scholarship. And we have also started a new project, it's a goat project. So we're giving 2 goats to each family in the villages. And costs only $50 for a goat. So our hope is that they have the whole community have a goat, so at least they have some milk to drink. And their responsibility is to give when the firstborn baby is given to the next family. So that way it's have a multiplier effect. Time person.
Sapna Ji, chair of our forum, and all the dignitaries who are at the forum. And I would like to welcome our patron, Hirachanji, and all the distinguished guests here, and Didibani Tajbayaru. I'm glad that you are here to join us here at the Women's Forum. Actually, I was elected for NRNA. I don't know if everybody has known about NRN movement. I would like to just, what I have prepared, a little bit introduce the NRN and Women's Forum, what we have been doing. The momentous events in Nepal, such as Maoist insurgency, post-2006 political development and struggle, have opened new opportunities and aroused new aspirations for both men and women. They have also presented challenges, especially for women. The issues and problems we had faced already as women in patriarchal society got compounded as a result of these events within Nepal and migration of Nepalese in various destinations overseas in the wake of globalization, especially in the past 2 decades. NRNA, Non-Residents Nepali Association, founded not very long ago, it's been 10 years only, in response to massive dispersal of Nepalese all over the world, has made tremendous stride as an umbrella organization of Nepalese diaspora to positively influence events and policies both in Nepal and abroad for all Nepalese. But women's issues and problems have always been unique, both in Nepal and overseas. And without creating a special wing to address women's issues, the overwhelming problems couldn't be addressed adequately. So thinking on that prospect, in 2000, as you know, every 2 years, NRNA has elections in Kathmandu, global elections, and Ranju Thapa from Australia and myself from Canada were elected as coordinator and deputy coordinator for representing women. And since then, we have been working to unite women globally and make our umbrella organization all over the world. And
home and the community and the society and the nation, then only we can go to the point that substantive role of Nepalese women in nation building in reference of constitution making process. Now I would like to call our Dr. Nirola, and I just want to give a brief introduction about him, and you can talk from this. Okay. First, I would like to give a little introduction about Dr. Nirola. He is a faculty director of Institute of Urban Education, Yukon Land College of New School University in 2006. Dr. Nirola was one of the 5 distinguished South Asian leaders who were honored by the Controller of the New York City as well as a prestigious award winner in policy and advocacy.
For 4 years plus. It's not an easy one, a very complicated one, very challenging one. And I hope that the next Constituent Assembly will be the last one to write the new constitution of our native country, Nepal. Women's role, sustainable role of Nepalese women in nation building in reference to constitution making process in Nepal. I'm sure Sapna Malla Pradhan is going to talk about this in detail because she has walked the walk, talked the talk, and she has been there during the last 4 or 5 years of this Constituent Assembly that died in May 28th. For me, the last assembly was one of the most inclusive, and every leader, political leader I talked to, the one thing they always told me was this was the most inclusive Constituent Assembly ever anywhere in the world. Some 33% women were in the Constitution Assembly. I think that was a marvelous achievement. But what I want to say is that number alone does not translate into results. So in the coming days, especially during the election, I want to urge people like Sapna Pradhan Malla and others who will be at the front line of this journey to not only to increase the number of women in the Constitution Assembly, but find women who can actually contribute to the process of constitution making. Number alone will not make a difference in real sense. So we need a number as well as someone who can speak for herself and for her constituency. That is the women of Nepal. That's very critical. To do that, we must have a goal. There is a proverb that says, where there is no vision, we perish. If we don't have a goal, why do we want to have more women in the assembly? What is the purpose? Who do we want there? Who can represent us? We need to be very clear. So let's not send someone in the name of women who cannot contribute. Let's find someone, educate someone. What is the purpose? What is the role of being in the assembly? That is very critical. Last assembly, based on my own observation and analysis, shows that the vast majority of the assembly members had little to do with what happened in the last 4 years. Few people had voice. One of the assembly members, women members, told me that every time she wanted to say something, voice her concern, the male members of the Constituent Assembly, or the leaders particularly, would not listen. They would in fact get up and walk away. That's not what we want. So let's make sure that this time everyone, 491 or whatever the number is going to be, that's still debatable, every one of those members are engaged in the process of constitution.
The point that we need to educate the man also, and men should be educate themselves to empower women, so that only we can go to the point of our theme. Thank you, Dr. Nirola. So now I'm going to call Dr. Samita Das Gupta from Manavi organization.
And it is in New Jersey. Manavi was established in 1985 and has been involved deeply in upholding South Asian women's rights in the US. And it has also worked internationally. We have actually, as I was listening to Mr. Maharjan, I remembered that we had a program called Crossing the Borders Project, and we funded a small organization in Nepal that asked us that they wanted to buy 2 goats. I remember that very much. And we funded that project, and it was a delightful project. Now, our organization, Manavi, works with women who trace their heritage to Bangladesh, India, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. And we work with women who have experienced violence in their lives. So this is something that is very important. And thank you again for asking me to come here. Now, Nepal stands at this point at the crossroads of creating a permanent constitution that will safeguard all its citizenry. It is an enormous task, as I'm sure all of you know much better than I do. How would it make sure that the interests of all segments of the population are upheld? While the important experts will draft the Constitution, they must ensure the participation of women, which is half the population. And this participation must happen not as an afterthought, not as an add-on basis, but it must happen mindfully, and it must happen from the beginning. Not only that, we know that the participation can be meaningless participation, as we have heard from other speakers, that only in numbers. That's not what we need to have. Participation must be meaningful and substantial. A constitution cannot be democratic unless it considers women's significant participation and inputs in its crafting. It is only by women's full involvement in the Constitution that a country can hope to have them participate wholeheartedly in its development in the future. However, a factor that is critical in ensuring women's participation in Constitution creation is to include the right of women to lead a violence-free life. And I think you've heard it from all the other speakers how that is important.
सम्बोधन गर्न चाहन्छु प्रमुख अतिथिज्यू सपना मल्लज्यू नागरिकता निरन्तरताको अभियानको क्रममा यहाँसँग भेटघाट भएको थियो तपाईलाई पुनः यहाँ भेट्न पाउन खुसी लागेको छ र आसीन विशिष्ट अतिथिज्यूहरू हाम्रा गैर आवासीय नेपाली सङ्घ यो 65 राष्ट्रमा हाम्रो राष्ट्रिय समन्वय परिषदको स्थापना भएको छ त्यस संस्थाका प्रमुख संरक्षक देवमान हिराचनज्यू र सम्पूर्ण गैर आवासीय नेपाली महिला पुरुष दाजुभाइ दिदीबहिनीहरू सर्वप्रथम त म यहाँ आफू उपस्थित हुन पाएकोमा अत्यन्तै गौरव गर्न चाहन्छु म खुसी छु र विशेष गरी ANA यो ओभरअल संयोजक तथा महिला फोरमका संयोजक साथीहरू शारदा खगतीज्यू विष्णु एकताजी लगायत सम्पूर्ण सहभागी साथीहरूलाई धन्यवाद दिन चाहन्छु यो जुन टाइटलमा थीममा फोकस गर्नुपर्दा मेरो टाइटल अलिकति फरक हुन सक्छ सब्स्टेन्सिभ रोल अफ एनआरएन्स इन नेसन बिल्डिङ इन रेफरेन्स टु कन्स्टिट्युसन मेकिङ प्रोसेस आदरणीय महानुभावहरू गैर आवासीय नेपाली सङ्घ स्थापना भएको 2003 हो र महिलाहरूले जुन गैर आवासीय नेपाली सङ्घको अभियानमा सक्रिय भूमिका निर्वाह गर्दै आएका छन् विदेशमा रहेका नेपाली महिलाहरूलाई एकीकृत गरेर उनीहरूको हक हितमा काम गर्नको लागि स्थापना कालदेखि नै हाम्रो एउटा सञ्जालमा महिला फोरमको गठन भएको छ र महिलाको हक हित सम्बन्धमा कार्यहरू सञ्चालन गरिरहेका छन् र भर्खरै प्रस्तुत हुनुभएको राधाजी तपाईको सबल नेतृत्वको लागि धन्यवाद छ हाम्रो डेपुटी वुमेन कोअर्डिनेटर हुनुहुन्छ विभिन्न राष्ट्रहरूमा चाहिँ विभिन्न सङ्घ संस्थाहरूसँग हाम्रो सहकार्य हुँदैछ गैर आवासीय नेपाली सङ्घ कुनै देशको कुनै समुदायको छाता संस्था होइन हाम्रो यो साझा संस्था हो त्यसकारणले महिला हक हित संरक्षण गर्नको लागि बनिएका धेरै अनवरत रूपमा कार्यरत साथीहरूसँग हामी सहकार्य गर्न चाहन्छौँ सङ्घ संस्थाहरूसँग सहकार्य गर्न चाहन्छौँ हाम्रो त जन्म भएको भर्खर 10 वर्ष मात्रै भएको छ हामीलाई सिकाइदिनुहोस् महिला हक हित संरक्षण गर्नको लागि हामीले गैर आवासीय नेपाली सङ्घले के पहल गर्न सक्छ महिला हिंसा विरुद्धमा नेपाल सरकार र सरकारवालाहरूको ध्यान आकर्षण गर्दै आएको छौँ म आफै बालुवाटारको अगाडि पुगेको थिएँ धेरै विस्तृत रूपमा म यसमा परिचय गर्न चाहन्न र उहाँहरूलाई हौसला दिन प्रयत्न गरेको थियौँ र आधिकारिक रूपमा हामीले ऐक्यबद्धता पनि जनाइसकेका छौँ हाम्रो गम्भीर ध्यानाकर्षण कहाँ भएको छ भनेदेखि खाडी मुलुकहरूमा साउदी अरेबिया युएई कतार कुवेत इजरायल बहराइन ओमान र अन्य मुलुकहरूमा नेपालबाट रोजगारीको लागि धेरै सङ्ख्यामा महिलाहरू गइरहनु भएको छ र प्रायः सो उहाँहरू अशिक्षित र साथसाथै तालिम बिना वैदेशिक रोजगारमा जानाले र प्रायः जसो घरेलु कामदारहरूको रूपमा गइरहनु भएको छ र जसको फलस्वरूप त्यहाँ विभिन्न किसिमहरूको समस्याहरूको सामना गर्नु परिरहेको छ सर्वप्रथम त उहाँहरूलाई त्यहाँको भाषाको ज्ञान नहुनु र उचित सिपको अभावले त्यहाँको घरमा भएको उपकरणहरू कसरी चलाउने भन्ने समेत ज्ञान नहुनु जसले गर्दा उनीहरू घर मालिकहरूद्वारा दिनानुदिन घरेलु हिंसाका साथै बलात्कारको शिकार भइरहेको परिस्थिति छ यसलाई कसरी न्यून गर्न सकिन्छ भन्ने कुरामा नेपाल सरकार र सम्बन्धित देशका नेपाली दूतावासहरू एनसीसी हाम्रा राष्ट्रिय समन्वय परिषदहरू र महिला हितसँग सम्बन्धित कार्य गर्ने सङ्घ संस्थाहरूसँग हामी अनवरत रूपमा छलफल गरिरहेको परिस्थिति छ र हाम्रो महिला फोरमले पनि सरकारहरूसँग समन्वय गरिआएको छ समयलाई ध्यानमा राख्दै विशेष गरी हामीले 4वटा देशमा मध्यपूर्वको 4वटा देशमा महिलासँग सम्बन्धित विषयवस्तुको विस्तृत अध्ययन गर्नको लागि युएन वुमन एनआइडिएस निड्स र एनआरएनएको एउटा सम्झौता भएको थियो र त्यस सम्झौता अन्तर्गत आगामी चाहिँ विश्व सम्मेलन अक्टोबरमा हुँदैछ त्यो चाहिँ एउटा रिसर्च भएको छ त्यही अत्यन्तै गम्भीर आत्महत्याका केसहरू धेरै छन् उहाँहरूको त्यो रिसर्चलाई हामीले ल्याएर त्यस रिसर्चको निर्क्युललाई सरकार समक्ष पुर्याउने हाम्रो प्रयत्न हुँदैछ र त्यो
हामीले पहिलादेखि नै इङ्ग्लिसमा सुरु गरेको किनभने हाम्रो फरेन साथीहरू छन् त्यसले गर्दा अन्यथा नलिनु होला साथीहरूले So it's a really good point that he focused on that women are always victim because of the lack of education. So he mentioned about the NRN women who are facing a lots of domestic violence where they work. And also I'm so glad to hear that my husband is not here. That man should educate themselves he need to start from the home. So that's a very good point. So I think we need to focus on that also. That's very important. It looks very small, but it's a unique point to empower each women. Okay, now I'm going to call Dr. Vishnu Maya Pariyar. So,
मेरो नमस्ते। सर्वप्रथम त महिलाको फोरमलाई कोअर्डिनेट गर्ने हाम्रो शारदा भाउजू र विष्णुजीलाई म मुरी धन्यवाद दिन चाहन्छु। सायद यो हिस्ट्रीमा पहिलोचोटि हो ANA कन्भेन्सनमा चाहिँ 2 दिन वुमेनको फोरम भयो, त्यसमा पनि 2 दिन। अनि we can see that change is happening right now. That's why just focus on positive things. We always talk about negative things, and we can't do anything if we just talk on negative. मलाई आजको विषयवस्तुमा नै फोकस गर्नु भन्नुभएको छ आजको कोअर्डिनेटर ज्यूले, तर फोकस त्यसमै फोकस गर्छु तर अलि डिफरेन्ट पाराले। हामीले संविधानको बारेमा धेरै कुरा गरिसक्यौं, सायद करोडौं खर्च पनि गरिसक्यौं। मलाई एक्ज्याक्ट थाहा भएन त्यो अमाउन्ट, सायद त्यति पैसा चाहिँ नेपालको एउटा ग्रासरुट लेभलमा गएर महिलाहरूको लागि इम्पावर अनि बच्चाहरूको लागि एजुकेसनमा इन्भेस्ट गरे भए आज नेपाल छुट्टै गइसक्थ्यो।
म मात्रै सबैजना पर्नु
हो, हामीलाई संविधान चाहिन्छ, संविधान लेखिनु पर्छ, त्यसमा पनि इन्क्लुसिभ भयो भने धेरै राम्रो। तर भइरहेछ आजसम्म कसले बनाउँछ संविधान? ती व्यक्तिहरू जो एजुकेटेड छन्, जो एउटा पावरफुल पोजिसनमा छन्, जो एउटा प्राय काठमाडौँमा हुर्केका काठमाडौँमा जन्मेका व्यक्तिहरू छन्, ती व्यक्तिहरूलाई थाहा छ नेपालको ग्रासरुट लेभलमा महिलाहरू र मार्जिनलाइज जनताहरूको बारेमा के भइरहेछ भन्ने कुरा। त्यसैले मेरो लागि संविधान भनेको इट इज जस्ट पिस अफ पेपर। जब यो कार्यमा लागू हुन सक्दैन, के दोलखाको महिलालाई संविधान भनेको के हो थाहा छ? के एउटा बागलुङको एउटा दलित महिलालाई चाहिँ आजभन्दा 50 वर्ष अगाडि छुवाछुत अन्त भएको कुरा थाहा छ उहाँलाई? केही पनि थाहा छैन। संविधान मात्र लेखेर के गर्नुहुन्छ जब त्यो कार्यमा लागू हुँदैन भने? म के भन्छु भने जबसम्म ग्रासरुट लेभलमा महिलाहरूलाई इम्पावर हुँदैन र बच्चाहरूलाई हामीले प्रत्येक घरमा बच्चाहरूलाई एजुकेट गराउन सकेनौँ भने त्यहाँ केही हुनेवालामा छैन। म तपाईँहरूलाई एउटा इक्जाम्पल भन्छु जहाँ मेरो अर्गनाइजेसन इम्पावर दलित वुमेन अफ नेपालले नेपालको ग्रासरुट लेभलमा काम गरिरहेछ, फोकसिङ अन दलित बट अल मार्जिनलाइज ग्रुप। हामीले कार्यक्रम सुरु गर्दाखेरि त्यहाँ महिलाहरूलाई दे डिड नट इभन नो एनिथिङ, दे डिड नट नो अबाउट कन्स्टिट्युसन, दे डिड नट नो द्याट देयर इज अ राइट, वुमेन्स राइट, and they did not know that there is a law against domestic violence. अनि उनीहरू के गर्थे त प्राय दलित महिलाहरू, स्पेशली one caste, they make shoes and they are sarkis. So whenever high caste people's animal die, they are the one, they had the obligation to carry, to throw or to eat them. Imagine that. Is this a human being? They are also human being. Why people treat them less than animals? अनि ती महिलाहरूलाई जब हामीले प्रोग्राम सुरु गर्यो त्यो ठाउँमा वर्षौंदेखि त्यो एनिमल मरेको एनिमल, इमेजिन द्याट एनिमल डाई बिकज अफ समथिङ रङ, राइट? किनभने विभिन्न किसिमको रोग लागेको हुनसक्छ, के हुन्छ, खाँदा कतिजना मर्नु भयो होला। अनि आज ती महिलाहरू जुन हामीले एउटा ग्रासरुट लेभलमा उहाँहरूलाई हामीले एउटा ह्युमन राइट्सको बारेमा ट्रेनिङ गरायौँ, आज ती महिलाहरूले बोयकट गर्दैछन्, तिनीहरूले छोडिसके अब यो हामी यो खान जन्मेको होइन, हामी पनि अरू समान भएर बाँच्नुपर्छ भनेर उहाँहरू लागि पर्नु भएको छ। अनि अर्को कुरा, मनोकामनाको मन्दिर त तपाईँहरूलाई थाहा नै छ, इज द बिगेस्ट हिन्दू टेम्पल इन नेपाल, स्पेसली for Hindu. अनि त्यहाँ चाहिँ दलितहरू चाहिँ त्यहाँ कस्तो थियो भने दलितहरूलाई चाहिँ त्यहाँ मन्दिरमै जानै नदिने उनीहरूलाई चाहिँ वर्षौँदेखि हामी चाहिँ दलित हो हामी चाहिँ जानै हुँदैन किनभने हाम्रो निधारमा त दलित भनेर लेखेको छ दलितले छुनै हुँदैन जानै हुँदैन पनि आज ती महिलाहरू प्रत्येक दलित त्यो मन्दिरमा जान सफल भएका छन् not only that they had built their own temple that all the Hindus all the Nepali people are welcome to worship कुनै टेम्पलमा दलितहरूलाई जान दिन्थेन आज ती महिलाहरूले आफैले धारा बनाएर all the caste they will go to get the water अनि हाम्रो काम हाम्रो दायित्व के हो त हाम्रो दायित्व भनेको we have to bring the solidarity among the division त्यही भएर किन नेपालमा के हुन सक्छ किन अशान्ति भइराछ there is a root cause we all have to recognize this is not the issue of caste this is the issue of nation we have to focus on that त्यसैले मेरो विचारमा कन्स्टिट्युसन संविधान हुनुपर्छ बनिनुपर्छ यो पनि इन्क्लुसिभ हुनुपर्छ तर ग्रासरुट लेभलको महिलाहरूलाई you have to involve them किनभने काठमाडौँमा जन्मेको महिलाहरूलाई नै त्यहाँ लाने हो भने किन हामी ग्रासरुटबाट नलाने किन एउटा एजुकेटेड महिलालाई मात्र लाने खुकुरीको के हुन्छ त्यो चाहिँ अचानुलाई मात्रै थाहा हुन्छ त्यो भने जस्तै ग्रासरुट लेभलको महिलाहरूको समस्या भनेको एउटा पावरफुल लेभलमा बस्ने महिलाहरूलाई थाहा छैन उहाँहरूबाट आउनुपर्छ त्यसैले एडवानले अहिलेसम्म 7 वटा जिल्लामा वुमेन इम्पावरमेन्ट प्रोग्राम वुमेन एवेरनेस प्रोग्राम र करिब 15,000 बच्चाको लागि एजुकेसन प्रोग्राम गर्दैछ change should happen from the grassroots level thank you so much
in the society and she's talking about that the constitution is just a piece of paper if it is not in the real implementation that's a very good point and we heard so many things about the improvement in the society so not only talk about the big things like okay we should make a constitution building and then empower women but in a real life she did a lot of change thank you very much
हैन र अन्तिम वक्ताको रूपमा पनि रहेकोले गर्दाखेरि असाध्यै म थिममा रहने प्रयास गर्नेछु र पूर्व वक्ताका कुराहरूलाई मैले केही जोड दिनेछु र केही कुरा चाहिँ आफ्ना थप गर्नेछु जस्तो तारा दाइले चाहिँ यसमा भन्दै गर्दाखेरि वुमनको इस्युमा चाहिँ एड्रेस भइहाल्यो नि त किन सबस्टेन्टिभ पार्टिसिपेसन चाहियो त एकजनाले भए पनि राम्रै लेख्दाखेरि बरु लेट्स स्टार्ट विथ राम्रो भन्ने कुराहरू गर्नुभयो त्यसमा म अलिकति विमति जनाउन चाहन्छु र आफ्नो कुराहरू थप्न चाहन्छु आई वुड लाइक टु गो विथ डक्टर समिता सो आई रियली वान्ट टु गो विथ हर इन्क्लुडिङ द नम्बर एज वेल एज द इस्यु सो हामीले म एज अ एक्टिभिस्ट त्यसमा पनि लको पर्सपेक्टिभबाट हेर्दाखेरि मैले के गर्न चाहन्छु र मैले के गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने क्रममा जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ हामीले गर्न सक्ने भनेको इस्यु आइडेन्टिफाई गर्ने हो त हाम्रा इस्यु के हुन् त हाम्रा सरकारका विषय के हुन् त र त्यसमा चाहिँ हाम्रो त्यो इस्युलाई चाहिँ हामीले इन्टरनलाइज गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ र त्यो इन्टरनलाइज गर्ने क्रममा चाहिँ हाम्रा कुन तह र तबकामा गएर हामीले त्यसलाई भन्नुपर्ने हुन्छ हाम्रा आवाजहरू बताउनु पर्ने हुन्छ भन्ने कुराहरू हामीले गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ र त्यो भनेका कुराहरू साँच्चीकै अफेक्टेड जो निडी ग्रुप हो त्यसलाई चाहिँ एड्रेस हुन्छ हुँदैन मिनिङफुल त्यसले इन्जोय गर्छ कि गर्दैन भन्ने कुरामा हामीले अलिकति त्यसलाई जोड दिनुपर्ने हुन्छ र एज अ ल प्रोफेसनल लेडी मैले के गर्न सक्छु भन्ने कुरा चाहिँ मेरो रोल इम्पोर्टेन्ट हुन्छ भन्ने मलाई लाग्छ त्यो चाहे म नेपालमा बसौँ चाहे म विदेशमा बसौँ चाहे जहाँसुकै जाउँ म ग्रासरुटमै जानुपर्छ भन्ने छैन मैले आफ्नो विचारधारालाई वेभ गर्न सक्छु मेरो आफ्नो लेखन पद्धतिबाट मैले त्यसलाई सम्प्रेषण गर्न सक्छु इस्यु के हो भन्दाखेरि मैले के गर्छु कहाँ गर्छु र कसरी गर्छु भन्ने कुरा मेरो जुन इमान्दारिता छ मेरो डेडिकेसन छ त्यसले चाहिँ गभर्न गर्छ भन्ने म कुरा राख्छु र हाम्रो डाक्टर विष्णुमाया परियारजीले के भन्नुभयो भने दोलखाको मान्छेलाई ल थाहा छैन भन्नुभयो तर म यहीँनिर एउटा इक्जाम्पल के दिन चाहन्छु भने दोलखाकै सबिना दमाईले बाबुको नाम पत्ता नलागेको भन्ने आधारमा मात्र नागरिकता दिइरहेको क्रममा म महिला कानुन र विकास मञ्चसँग आबद्ध भएर उहाँ मात्र एउटा यस्तो केस हो नागरिकताको इस्युमा चाहिँ आमाको मात्र नाम राखेर दिएको छ नागरिकता त्यसो उसलाई संविधानकै आधारमा उसले पायो नि त संविधान पिस अफ पेपर होइन। संविधान भनेको हाम्रो लागि यस्तो एउटा यन्त्र हो जसमा टेकेर मात्र हामी अधिकार पाउँछौँ। बाबुको नाम पत्ता नलागेर पहिला चाहिँ नागरिकता दिने क्रममा पनि टेक कामलाका जुन रिट निवेदन हाल्नु भएको थियो, त्यसलाई एड्रेस गर्ने क्रममा चाहिँ वादी एउटा समुदाय छ अहिले पनि, त्यो समुदायको हक अधिकारलाई संरक्षण गर्नको लागि बाबु पत्ता नलागेको भनेर दिएको थियो। त्यो पनि उहाँले 2047 सालको संविधानकै आधारमा पाउनु भएको थियो। 2047 सालको संविधानकै आधारमा टेकेर हामीले जेन्डर इक्वालिटी एक्ट 2063 इन्चो जुन हामीले छतो दिदीले बताएर जानुभयो, त्यो पायौँ। संविधान हाम्रो लागि मूल यन्त्र हो, त्यो नभइकन हामीले केही पनि गर्न सक्दैनौँ। त्यसैले अपकमिङ संविधानमा चाहिँ हामीले आफ्ना कुराहरू कसरी राख्न सक्छौँ र के राख्न सक्छौँ भन्ने कुरा धेरै इम्पोर्टेन्ट कुरा हुन्छ। त्यसैले हामी यस्तो फोरममा बसेर मात्रै नभएर हाम्रा कुराहरू कसरी पुर्याउने भने हाम्रा कुराहरू पुर्याउँ, लेखेर पुर्याउँ, भनेर पुर्याउँ, रोएर पुर्याउँ, कराएर पुर्याउँ, डजन्ट म्याटर, पुर्याउँ। त्यसैले संविधान हाम्रो लागि असाध्यै महत्त्वपूर्ण संयन्त्र हो भन्न चाहन्छु। एउटा कुरा चाहिँ जस्तै म एउटा कुरा के बताउन चाहन्छु भने मिस रुजवेलले यो जुन युडिएच युनिभर्सल डिक्लेरेसन अफ ह्युमन राइटको ड्राफ्ट गर्ने क्रममा उहाँ एकजना मात्र लेडी हुनुहुन्थ्यो। उहाँको सिग्निफिकेन्स रोल कसरी देखिन्छ भन्दाखेरि फर्मल मोडल अफ इक्वालिटी को ल्याङ्ग्वेज जुन लेखियो, एभ्री वान सुड भनेर जुन ल्याङ्ग्वेज आयो, त्यो उहाँको योगदान हो। उहाँले यति नलेखिदिएको भए त मेन सेन्ट्रिक मात्रै हुन्थ्यो होला, फर्मल हुँदैन थियो होला। एटलिस्ट हामीसँग फर्मल मोडालिटी अफ इक्वालिटी छ। हामी अब के को लागि रोल प्ले गर्छौँ भन्दा सब्सट्यान्टिभ मोडल अफ इक्वालिटीको लागि रोल प्ले गर्छौँ र हाम्रो मिनिङफुल पार्टिसिपेसन, मिनिङफुल रियलाइजेसनको लागि हामी रोल प्ले गर्छौँ। सपना दिदी सिए मेम्बर हुँदाखेरि जसरी काम गर्नुभयो, उहाँ सँगसँगै लागेर एउटा स्याडोको रूपमा म पनि पछाडि बसेर काम गर्ने मौका पाएँ र उहाँले यसो हुँदैछ है, आज हाम्रो मिटिङ हुँदैछ है, आज हाम्रो यो हुँदैछ, तिमीले के गर्छौ भन्दा हामीलाई जसरी जानकारी गराउनुहुन्थ्यो, त्यो सँगसँगै हामी सडकमा गयौँ, त्यो सँगसँगै हामी सदनमा गयौँ, त्यो सँगसँगै हामी इस्यु लिएर हामीले थुप्रो क्याम्पेनिङ गऱ्यौँ। इट्स नट इजी, यो सजिलो छैन। त्यसैले यो प्रोसेस हो, संविधान बनाउने प्रोसेस हो। के को लागि भन्दाखेरि संविधान भएपछि मात्र हाम्रो देश बन्छ। त्यसैले